Welcome back to Reddit Report. Today we are taking a look at r/AskReddit. What's your fake scenario that will never happen, but I like to imagine it anyway, so that I can fall asleep? What I would do on a deserted island, like my survival plan. In middle school I would imagine that a portal would tear through my classroom and a group of uniformed mythological people would come out and would urgently request me by name and tell me that they really needed me, and then they would whisk me away to some other world where I was their only hope in some ancient war. Just so that everyone around me could wonder why I was so important. Over a decade later I'm writing a webcomic about it. Got about 100 pages out. I'm deleting it now so I can redo it since now I'm a proper adult and not a broody 15-year-old. I time traveled to 1973 and tried to explain the internet to people. Me too, except I usually go to the 1800s and bring a phone with me to show them what it does and blow their minds. And sometimes Leonardo da Vinci time travels to the current time and I'm tasked with showing him the world. I even figured out how we will communicate with each other, plus, he's smart. He'll have English figured out in no time I'm sure. Reddit. There is a portal to the modern day, so we can access to the internet. Plus, as a few people mentioned, if we have the technology to time travel, we probably can figure out a way to provide internet services. Bringing multiple phones would be a good idea. I imagine things I wish I said. Not like arguments that I win in just kinda introverted and I don't say a lot of things that would greatly add to a conversation. Seeing my grandfather again. I dream about him a lot because he was the best friend I'll ever have and I really fricking miss him. It's been a long time now since he passed away and I'm starting to forget things about him and it hurts my heart so much. I have a 16-year fantasy world, not really written, mostly just back of my mind kind of escape, and I just expand on that for a bit. Really interesting thinking back on what I've brought up for it and how big small it's gotten. At this point I've gotten to an anthology type stage where there's a main story in the background but a lot of mini stories being told to secondary and tertiary characters. Mostly because the main character has been around for so long and gone through so many realities that this helps other people catch up and lets me go over what I came up with before but didn't really expand on. It's nice to be able to go back to that but still keep everything alive and progressing. I'm living in an alpine cabin above the snow line, just me and a dog. Each day I cut firewood. Each night I spend the evening watching the fire and drinking black coffee while the dog snores. Note it, I used to envision that there's global epidemic of some kind and the world has gone to shit, looting and whatnot, the government has collapsed and I have to be super quiet to avoid the upheaval outside. I got like 60% of that for real in 2020 and it wasn't nearly as cool as my daydream. A life where I have a GF and we're living together and doing silly things with each other and making jokes. Or going to a park or zoo and having conversations with each other. One day, right? I used to fantasize about winning the lottery to go to sleep. It can be fun, mainly I think about where I would go on travel, what concerts I would see, how many festivals can I do in a year. As I've gotten older, I recognize that winning the lottery is quite likely to ruin my life instead of elevate it. I'm fairly fortunate in my career, and so I have the privilege to say this, I'm not hungry, my kids get clothes and school, I am able to pay a mortgage, stuff like that. See? When you start thinking about this stuff, it doesn't help with sleep. So sometimes I think of myself in the world of one of my favorite movies or books, how would I contribute to the events or interact with the characters? Harry Potter is a special favorite. I'm huddled by a fire in a shelter during the last ice age after a successful hunt and listening to the stories of elders. Snuggled in heavy warm furs with my husband, the fire crackles, our wolf pup sleeps next to us. The wolves are howling outside and hyenas cackle on the plains. A lone cry of a large saber-toothed cat or cave lion bellows over miles across the cold-swept plains. Our hut is part of a lodge, connected by mammoth bones built by our predecessors, fortified with strong boughs, hides, even stones. It keeps us warm and dry. The wind howls long and lonely like the wolves bringing snow and ice. Wrapped in furs, I cuddle with my husband as it keeps us warm underneath. I kiss him, and he wraps himself around me. I hear the low breathing of our puppy with slight running in his sleep. The elders talk long into the night, a low chorus against hide-and-stick walls. I can hear owls calling too, breaking a harsh cold silence after the wolves have moved. The wind is blowing, and the soft hush of snow falling. I feel myself drifting in the warmth of the furs and embrace of my love. The last I see are the embers and soft orange flames of the fire. So this requires lots of backstory. Last year I became really good friends with this girl. I had known her before cause we go to the same school, but now we were real close. I started developing a crush on her gradually. As our friendship progressed, it got stronger. Then one morning we were joking and being stupid before school, and I suddenly realized I loved her. Kept it a secret for about 4 or so months, but then I finally told her, and we're really close now. Result: rejection. Turns out she's a romantic. Not gonna explain what Thar means for those of you who don't know, Google it, so not really personal and not her fault, just not possible. So my sleep fantasy is that story playing out in a completely different way. I live back in the 70s or 90s, where nobody uses their mobile phone all day, and I move abroad to somewhere like Germany, Austria, or Switzerland and work and live in a ski resort. And that's it. All day I teach skiing lessons, and at night I socialize and talk and meet people. Maybe on the weekend I catch a train into the nearest village and get something to eat by the river. I have a few. I am intentionally single. I'm a rather selfish human being and I honestly dislike living with other people, and I would absolutely hate having to share my bed. I sometimes think about falling asleep next to a loving girlfriend. Or think about our toddler climbing into bed to sleep with us. Sometimes, in the winter, I think about being on a camping trip and how snuggly and warm I am compared to how cold it is outside. Heated mattress pad, 3 cats, 2 warm blankets. Sometimes I go through happier childhood memories. I'll walk through my grandparents' house in my mind. Sometimes I think about how the sunrise in the summer looks, or how a summer sunset looks. Sometimes I'll think about how the autumn or winter twilight feels. I'm standing in line at the bank. Everyone is oblivious, but I notice a sketchy guy enter the building, so I prepare for the worst. Guy goes to the counter and puts a gun to the head of the customer at the counter. He shouts, "Everyone on the floor now." I drop to the floor along with everyone else, but keep my eyes on the guy. As he's shouting at the cashier to give him the money, I low crawl behind the table holding deposit slips and whatnot. The guy is super tweaked out and screaming at the top of his lungs so he doesn't hear me creep up behind him. Bam, I get him on the floor into an arm bar or something. Jujitsuish. This is a fantasy, not at all realistic of course. The guy drops the gun. Police rush in. I stand up and brush my hands off, thankful I was able to save the day. Delusional for sure, but fun to be a hero in my own mind, I guess. Now that I see it written out, it's super cringe. Thank you for once again watching one of our Reddit videos. We hope you enjoyed, and we will see you in the next video. Have a great day.